Remember, there was that Fifth Circuit judge who was auditioning to be a Supreme Court justice who was talking about naturalized citizens and birthright citizenship. And he said, well, there are sort of exceptions to this, like if there's an invasion coming from across the border. Now, in reality, we know that the number of immigrants who are coming across the border now is at like a, I don't know, decade low. I mean, in part, that was because of very, in my estimation, egregious policies by Biden administration. But that's just the fact. Much harder to imply that there's an invasion happening when there's less people coming across the border now than there was during Trump's first term.
And like the way we think of border security has never occurred. That border, that border has never been secure that the way that, frankly, both parties pretend like they can do.
It can't be done. And the idea of our border being secure, like, what does that mean?
Right.
Fully half of the, supposed 11 million undocumented here came in on documents and just overstayed their visas.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, if you're going to claim that there's some type of invasion or some type of problem that would justify some type of extraordinary measures on January 22nd or 21st, you need to start laying the groundwork. So if some U.S. Army veteran, U.S. citizen goes on a rampage in New Orleans or blows up a Tesla in Vegas, what do you got to do? You got to pretend like it's a some type of immigrant attack. This is Fox News actually having to fact check Donald Trump. This is number 2.
Meanwhile, the man who's moving into this White House behind me in less than 3 weeks, President-elect Donald Trump put out a statement on social media earlier today that reads as follows. When I said that the criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media, but it turned out to be true. The crime rate in our country is at a level that nobody has ever seen before. Our hearts are with all innocent victims and their
now, there's some truth to the crime level is really down significantly in some areas.
Almost every area except shoplifting. There was
shoplifting. It's now actually increased to 2019 levels.
Pre-pandemic
levels. Shoplifting had gone down during the pandemic, and it's now back up to 2019 levels.
But violent crime, murders, assaults all dropped significantly last year.
At a level that nobody has ever seen before. Our hearts are with all the innocent victims and their loved ones, including the brave officers of the New Orleans Police Department. The Trump administration will fully support the city of New Orleans as they investigate and recover from this act of pure evil. Now, the former president said criminals coming in a statement, meaning into our country. But to be clear, Molly and Brian, the suspect was born in the United States. He served in the United States Army. He was a veteran. The FBI is the lead agency in this investigation, going through the social media and any other accounts associated with the suspect. But
yeah, just wanted to make that clear. Totally American.
I mean, but is he totally American? Because he's not white, which is like so when you talk about the immigration levels being, or the border crossings being at a low at this point, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is all a pretext to demonize people who are non-white. And right now there's like this project to reclaim this movement to say, oh, it's not really about that. They're populist. They're pro-worker. No, they're not. Like, I'm reminded of in 2016, do you remember that judge who was of Mexican ancestry but was born in Indiana, who Donald Trump said was biased towards him? This is the same thing. Because the guy in New Orleans, the suspect, is not white, it's a problem of immigration, because when they say immigration, they mean non-white people. And let's deal with them. Let's deal with this issue on its face and not pretend like,
maybe you're jaded.
Perhaps.
Let's listen to the border czar, Tom Homan, who, guards the border, probably both the Canadian one and the Mexican one, the one we have with both those countries. Here he is talking about the story of, I guess it was the Cybertruck that was exploded in Vegas. Incidentally, that guy who committed that, also U.S. veteran.
So this is just another danger this country faces, because this country's been lax on national security, and groups like this been emboldened. I mean, when you got, protesters walking down the streets in New York City carrying terrorist flags, chanting death to Israel and death to the United States, and nothing's being done about it. And when you have a border that was secure under President Trump, and this administration unsecured it on purpose, it's an open invitation for those around the world that hate this country.
To put into perspective,
Incidentally, none of these attacks came from outside of this country. None of them came from people who are critical of Israel. At
least that we know of
attack
right now.
on Palestinians, anyways.
But yeah, I mean, you can see how Israel is used as like a proxy for American interests against the scary hordes of Muslim people around the world.
What does the border security guy have anything to do with these attacks? But the idea is any opportunity they're going to be able to take over the next couple of weeks to blame anything on immigration, they're going to take, because they need to gin this stuff up.
Yes, and the thing that is frustrating about the whole thing is that it does, the immigration stuff that they exploit does near a truth, which is that our immigration system is about disciplining workers in this country, whether it be, we'll talk about it later, that H-1B situation fight where that's when your employer has basically control over your immigration status. That's the leftist critique of it. Or when it's the threats of deportation for workers who are undocumented and sub-minimum wage. Those are used to basically keep workers in line in this country. And so this is the Republicans trying to pit white workers against non-white workers, and that is the heart of our immigration system. Instead of actually making things equitable for people, they're trying to demonize a whole group, and they are succeeding at this moment.
When Rashida Tlaib was on Hassan's stream a few weeks ago, she says that every time that an immigration bill comes up, she tries to put on that business owners and that hire laborers face penalties, and that's never included.
Never.
But if you did that and E-Verify, a lot of this would be solvable. So you don't actually want to solve it. They just want to, like Emma said, discipline workers.
Let's play this one last clip. This is Representative Dan Mercer. He is a Republican from Pennsylvania, 9th District, on with Fox's Cheryl Casone. I want you to watch this and think about the biggest attack we've ever had in this country, and whether the letters DEI existed in the context in which we understand them today.
How concerned should we be about homegrown terrorism? And, these ideologies, there was an ISIS flag on the back of his truck, these ideologies seeping into the hearts and minds of Americans. Is this the new threat, in your opinion?
Well, it's certainly a threat, and that's why we need focus, and we need readiness, and we need clarity and priorities. The priority of the last 4 years has been DEI, if you will, not IEDs. And that's the truth. You talk to anyone who's willing to speak within these agencies, that's what their focus has been, not on this level of high level preparation. I mean, let's face it, Director Wray raided the former president's home. The amount of time and energy and intelligence and funding had to go into something as useless as that, when meanwhile he testifies that we've never had a higher terrorist level due to threat, due to the open border. And these others getting radicalized. Look, there were flags on these guys. I mean, I'm hearing now that they may have actually known each other and been radicalized together. Now, that's unconfirmed, but it's possible. So, yeah, we've got to get very, very serious about the work to be done. President Trump's a serious guy. He's bringing in serious people. It's not about DEI. It's about the safety and security of the American people.
You know, it's fascinating and also completely consistent with what you're saying. They didn't put up the picture of that guy, Matthew Livelsberger, who was the Army vet who blew up the Tesla, because he appears to be super white.
Yeah, just a white guy.
right? But
Just plain white guy.
how do we know that he wasn't indoctrinated by the DEI?
He could have been indoctrinated by the DEI, but they chose only to show the brown guy
Oh, yeah.
because they had to talk about DEI.
We'll show his picture once we can, put him next to like being supportive of trans issues.
Right. I mean,
You know how big the DEI agency was in the Bush administration in 2001 on 9/11?
got to be massive. That's a huge attack.
It was incredibly stealth. But the point being, like, this is just absurd.
I know.
But this is what, when they do this, they are setting the table for what they are anticipating is going to happen on day one, if not day two, if not day three of the Trump administration. So buckle up and get ready for what's coming. This is they are laying the predicate, and we'll see if they go ahead with it. Who dat? So both were Army vets trained in violence, living in a country where mainstream media spews hatred and fear all day. Definitely must have been DEI. No other explanation.
Totally.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.